And we are live.
Yes.
Welcome everyone to It's Friday. And guess what? It's Miami View Women Day. Woo-hoo. Welcome, Carolina. We have our guest, Justin Renee Wills.
Yes.
And we are embracing the fact that it is Friday. We've all had you've had how many cups of cafecito?
Carolina? 2 cups. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
I think Justin has had 2 cups of coffee, and I have definitely had 2 cups of chai tea. So we're ready to go.
We are ready. Yes.
Ready to go. So we are excited. We're going to do kind of our rapid fire of some in the news topics. Oh my goodness. Has it been a week?
Let's say who Justin is, and
I got this.
Okay,
I want to make sure that he has her. No, we're gonna. She's an amazing woman. She's an entrepreneur. She's on her reset. She is a jewelry maker. All of these fabulous. Going to make sure that we honor and gets back to the time, but we're going to go through these hot topics, which I hope you're going to navigate through because it is. Has it not been a week?
Yeah.
News-wise?
A week.
Yeah.
It's been a week.
Definitely.
It's been a week. How are you guys feeling about the week? We had the verdict come out. Who was found guilty. I know that, for the trial on the murder of George Floyd. So it I think a lot of us were a little on edge, not really knowing the verdict was going to definitely, even though that there was all this evidence that was presented, but we still went into looking at this trial, not really knowing how it was going to turn out. I know for me, it was a very emotional time, having to explain that to my daughter when she said, well, they have a video, mommy, and they have all this evidence, and, how would they not convict him? So any thoughts, feelings about what you were feeling, or did you watch the trial? Did you tune into the verdict, Dustin?
So I personally decided not to watch it just because I caught maybe when they recapped it on CNN, for example, they just kept on showing the video over and over again. It was very traumatizing for me. So I didn't watch the trial, but I did keep up through podcasts like The Breakfast Club, for example. So I watched the conviction and I watched the verdict. For me, I was shocked by the decision, honestly. Even though it's a decision that I wanted. I think we tend to be shocked when something like that happens just because of the history of everything. I don't think that it's anywhere near justice though. When people are like, oh, well, justice has been served. It's no, not really. Because if it was justice, George Floyd would still be alive today.
Right.
So yeah, it's very emotional. Especially because in the same day, didn't the teenage girl, what was her name? Michaela? Was it Michaela?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
shot and killed. Right. Yes, exactly. So it's
in Ohio.
In Ohio, yes. It just keeps on happening over and over again. So it's emotionally definitely a lot.
Yeah. We're nowhere near where we need to be. What about you, Carolina?
I have to tell I was so my heart was beating really rapidly, when they said they were going to make the announcement at 4:30 or before 4:30, and I just kept, I was holding my breath. And truthfully, I have to tell you, I already teared and I already kind of cried prior to the decision, because I've seen so much injustice that I truly thought that even with all that evidence,
Mm.
something was going to go wrong. Something was going to go wrong. And it's so horrible to think so pessimistically, but because so many times we haven't seen a conviction, we haven't seen a police officer being held accountable, I was already crying and I was already sad, which is really ridiculous because Darnella Frazier, who is the young lady who took that video, who I think saved this trial, right? Because I think her video was the most important thing that could have happened in this trial, together with the prosecutors, together with the jury, together with the witnesses. But really, her video really made a huge difference. And it was there. It was there for all of us to see. And just like they said, his knee was on his neck 3 minutes after he died. And to hear that and to see that, I was very emotional. And when it was just like guilty, I started screaming. I mean, I'm still emotional, really, because finally there was some accountability. Finally, there was like, I was able to like kind of take a breath, because even through college, I mean, I'm 45 now, imagine. So even through college, we were talking about this in the background. How many times have we been sitting there with our breath and they're innocent or not enough evidence or dismissed trial or whatever. And you can't believe it. So I kind of went back to my, to that. And to have this be so positive, like you said, it's not justice, but it is accountability. I feel in my heart that it hopefully is a turning point, right? Because now federal government is talking about it. They want to bring in a law, the George Floyd, I forgot what the name.
Act.
Police
Reform. There you go. Reform Act. And so this police reform is so vital. And like his daughter said, Daddy changed the world, and to have a law that's under his name, and I feel like this might be a turning point to where we can leverage this and really seek justice, in so many more of these occurrences.
Yeah. So 2 things. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Well, 2 things I want to say. Okay, so Ma'Khia Bryant, that's her name. I just wanted to make sure that it was the right one.
Yes, Ma'Khia Bryant.
And then also referring back to the Ebony K. Williams podcast, right? Like she mentioned that this verdict will be a measure at least, so that we can start, we can have something to stand on when we hold police accountable that murder innocent people. Right. So it's definitely like, it feels good. It does, honestly. But, it's also.
What was it?
I'm sorry?
I said, I think which was one of those moments because it looked like he really thought in his face that he was going to go home. He was just going to walk out of, the courtroom and leave. And the look on his face was, I think he really believed that they were not going to convict him.
I think so too, yeah.
Not a look of remorse, not a look of sadness, but shock. Like, are you kidding me? And I was just like, wow, that just was very unsettling.
And I think such a pivotal moment when he turns around and he gets handcuffed. That was such a pivotal moment that, okay, this is real. This is happening. He has no bond. He is going to jail. Like that. I don't know. That kind of, I have to tell you, gave me hope in regards to, I've been listening to a lot of good cops, and they keep saying there is, there's no one more than that wants a bad cop to be held accountable than a good cop. So this was for all the good cops. This was for our Black communities. This was for police reform, and hopefully it's the beginning of much more to come, holding bad cops accountable.
So any more hot topics? Anything? It was Earth Day. Happy belated Earth Day. Every day is Earth Day.
Happy belated Earth Day. Right. Yes. Yesterday was Earth Day.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day is a day for us to do something good for the environment that we have and that we have to leave for our children and our nieces and nephews and, that. All right, so
Yeah.
we're going to get to you had another topic, or can we get to Justin?
No,
and
I was
her-
going to say yes, that a lot of wonderful things in Miami-Dade County with Earth Day, and I know that we wanna dive into Justin Will's creative fashion and jewelry, and really kind of touch on Earth Day, right? And how important it is for you in regards to using materials, or to choosing to purchasing, and if Earth Day, not Earth Day, but climate justice really affects the way that you do fashion.
Yeah,
So why don't you
so
tell us a little bit about yourself? You're from Jamaica,
yes, so
favorite place on the planet, right?
wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
No, I said you're from Jamaica, favorite
Yes.
places on the planet. And you came to America at what age?
So I was 6 years old when I moved to Miami, Florida. And yeah, I mean, I was born in Jamaica, moved here, grew up here in Miami, which was great, honestly. Like you can't beat the weather.
Mhm.
And then I have always had a creative background. I've always been into like art, and as a kid, I just like would stay in my room and like draw and like just make things basically. And then I have a journalism background. I did a few years of college in Boston. I attended a community college there. Well, not a community college, I'm sorry, a liberal arts college in Boston. And yeah, like you mentioned before, an entrepreneur. Right now, Oh, that's me! Wow.
That's Miriam in our background, our producer, just hooking it up.
You were saying right in your reset, and I love that. I think that reset is something that has been so key to our society, the world. During COVID, and I think that there was a little bit of a stick, on when you reset. People think about reset, they're like, oh my gosh, you don't have it together, or you're not. And that's not. It's just about you taking the time to reset, to figure out what you want to do, figure out how you want to do differently, continue to walk and move in your purpose. So tell us what inspired yours, and what did you do?
So basically, I think COVID really just like slowed everybody down. Like you were forced to slow down. And I even realized like before COVID, I tried to be like mindful of how I was living my life in terms of, how many projects I was taking on, or how much, I guess, like in the fast lane, I was. And sometimes you just need to take a moment and take a few steps back in order to, for me, move in a more purposeful way. I feel like before COVID, I kind of lost a little bit of my purpose, or I wasn't sure like where I wanted to go. So right now we're doing a reset. Like we had talked about before, I make jewelry. And even with that, I kind of just I saw something in my mind and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make this, I'm gonna put it together. And I liked how it came out. But for me, I really want to sell product that I'm 100% like behind in terms of like how it looks, like how it's sourced and things like that. So I took a reset. Like I am attending a jewelry working make shop, for example. I'm doing more research on sustainable materials, things like that. So I took a reset in that as well. And then also with my social media, making a brand new account, for example, to separate from my personal account, something that I always wanted to do. So we're building up from that as well. We're just like resetting in general, taking things a little bit slow and moving more purposefully.
And so what drives you? What drives you on a daily, in regards to, I know you said that you have a background in journalism, and is it the story? Is it what's the motivation?
I think for me, I've always so I'm an Aquarius. I don't know if you guys are like, yeah. So yes, Aquarius all the way. And
Oh,
I'm,
what I've
I'm the minority in this group.
oh wait, what's your sign?
oh no, I'm a Cancer, so I got
You're Cancer.
That's
my
why
own stuff going on. No, but I've dated quite a few Aquarius, so I understand.
Oh
that's where that's
wow.
coming from. Got it.
You've dated Aquarius.
Miriam
Yeah,
is
that was
Scorpio.
an interesting journey. I'll save that for another show.
We went there.
Well, we're very much humanitarians, and like we like to, I'm very like solutions based, right? So if I see an issue, I want to come up with a solution. So I think that drives me, like helping people, providing information, education, for all of us to level up. Like that's pretty much my drive. One project that I had mentioned that I'm currently working on, is my podcast,
Yes,
which
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, so the idea behind that was basically so like I had a stint like in my early 20s, of course, where I was going down the wrong road. I was by myself for the first time living on my own. I fell into like really bad debt, like issues with like credit. Like I did not know what I was doing. I think I lacked guidance basically. It was just like more concentrated on having fun. So luckily we've like come out on the better end, but there's a lot of information out there that I've realized that a lot of younger people and even myself, we don't know and we should know. So for my podcast, what I really wanted to do, or what I really plan on doing, is bringing industry professionals in, to provide just like free information for people to level up. For example, how do you buy a house? The step by step on how to do that. You know, I think we have a general idea. Well, I'm sure you guys know, but for someone that hasn't purchased their home yet, like I'm sure a lot of things that I don't necessarily know.
Right.
So yeah, I wanted to provide information like that to millennials and Gen Z, which is again helping people in solutions based. That's like kind of what drives me.
Right.
You're leading in the community.
Trying to.
You also had a show with our, you participated in a show with Miriam, who's in the background right now, which was called Race to the Top. So you've also had this hostess experience and that, so that I'm sure prepares you as well for this podcast. So plus your journalism background and right?
Yes, definitely. And even with journalism, it's all about making connection with people, which, you know, it's something that just kind of drives me, like being able to like tell those stories and giving people platforms and such. So it just all kind of goes like hand in hand, which I'm very happy about. It feels very natural.
Are you doing it by yourself, or are you going to have a co-host, or you're going to be the only host? What's it like?
So I will be the only host, but I'm not sure yet about how the setup will be. I'm thinking about bringing other hosts on from time to time. But Miriam will also be helping me to produce it. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, Miriam, you didn't tell us that little secret.
Do we also answer questions as well? Like
yes.
while we're
Who were some of your favorite guests from Race to the Top?
I would say definitely interviewing DJ Fly Guy. Like that was very cool. He's like very inspiring.
Yes.
I loved his story. And then yes, very, very inspiring. And then I believe it was Jorge Iglesias? Yes. That was great for me because he really opened up my eyes to basically he works with like a nonprofit that provides freshly grown like produce for lower income areas, which I thought was like really amazing. And then of course I had my friend Paige on as well. Paige McPherson, she's a Olympic athlete. She does Taekwondo. So that was like really great too. Like she's an amazing person, honestly. So like being able to like kind of just like give her a platform to share her story was like great. So yeah, those are definitely a few of my favorite.
Did you, because you said you attended a liberal arts school and in journalism, were you able to pull in any of those lessons that you learned in class, or was that helpful as you are starting to create this podcast for your company?
Yes, definitely. So I attended Emerson College in Boston. And
Boston, as they say.
In Boston, yes, the khakis. A lot of Boston accents. The weather is another thing.
How did you adjust to the weather? Because you came from Jamaica to Miami.
Oh man, that was tough.
In Jamaica and go to New York, so it's like whoa, snow. What is this? So you had to stop in between, and then you went to Boston. So how did you adjust during the winter months? Because that's a lot of snow.
Like I think it says a lot that I'm back in Miami, because that weather is just it's really not for me. I like the fall. The fall is like my favorite season. It's great for layering. Yes.
Yeah.
But the winter is just like really intense. And when I was there, I think we had a blizzard, like a historic blizzard. There was an icicle on like the side of our window that was like this big. I have never seen anything like that before. So but
they just snow like 2 weeks ago.
I'm not surprised.
Which is crazy because it's April, so
yeah.
But it is definitely hands down the most beautiful place in the fall when the leaves change and the foliage. It's and you go out and you get a cup of cocoa and
like apple cider. And I also love how like New England, if you're in one place, you can kind of just like visit everything else around it. Like I got the opportunity to go to Vermont, which is like beautiful, like so green. But yeah, Emerson definitely prepared me. They have a lot of resources. So we were pushed to do things like learn how to, actually, we had to pretty much do everything ourselves in terms of like reporting. Like we had to set up our camera, like set up the mic, everything, edit, like put everything together. So it taught you how to be very like self-sufficient. And luckily we had like studios on campus as well, so we could be familiar with like recording and like mics and everything like that. So yeah, it definitely prepared me.
Do you get to go to Jamaica at all? Have you been back since you were left?
I've been back once when I was 15. So unfortunately, no, but my mom and I, we definitely want to go back. If not this year, then next. But to vacation, because usually when I go back, it's to visit family, and it's like, it can be like very intense.
Yeah.
Love Jamaica. I don't think I've danced so much reggae in my life. I haven't been there in years, but when I was there, reggae. I was like, yes, I want to live here. It was the best. Yeah. And people are so warm. It's just.
What's your favorite Jamaican dish? Can you cook?
Can I cook like Jamaican food?
Any food.
No. Well, I can cook. In terms of Jamaican food, I'm not there yet. My mom makes like the most amazing Jamaican food though. My favorite would definitely be saltfish and ackee with dumplings. Like
hands down.
That is like top for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm not a huge meat person. So I also like jerk chicken, but I don't eat it like too much.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I have a background also in journalism, went to FIU, and it was incredible, FIU North. and communications. And so if you and now with your fashion and your jewelry, like what advice would you have for Gen Z, who is your target market for the podcast, and millennials in regards to, you know, getting into communications or getting into fashion or following their inspiration?
I would say that two things. Stay like true to yourself, I would say, in terms of like fashion. I think it's so easy to get caught up in trends and name brands, right? So thinking, okay, like this is trendy, automatically I'm fashionable. There's nothing wrong with tapping into trends, but at the same time, you really want to like create your own sense of style. Not only like to not necessarily to stand out, but it's just an extension of yourself, right? You want to be able to be true to yourself. Also, another word of advice would be to network and really like build a community around you that you trust. I think like for any career like choice, wherever you want to go, I think that the community around you is like very important in terms of being able to get certain opportunities as well. But yeah, that would definitely be my top two recommendations.
Well, we're looking forward to having you back as
Oh, of
you
course.
tool. I think what you're doing is amazing because I think you're honoring some of the changes that you want to make, and you're taking that leap of faith, which something that is to me is very inspiring, and I know to Carolina as well. You know, so kudos to you for recognizing and you know really taking that journey and doing that, because I think sometimes a lot of people you know scared to do that. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We enjoyed having you, and we'll be putting in our jewelry orders and maybe getting on your podcast. We're just going to be all up in your business.
Yes, I will.
Where can viewers find you, and where can they follow you in regards to getting a hold of you and then following your podcast in the future?
Yeah, so perfect. It's right there. It's at Wills of J on Instagram. And then I'll be posting about my podcast on there as well, like when I create a new handle for it. And then I also have TikTok, but I don't post a lot of there yet, but it's also Wills of J, and the same thing on Facebook.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here. I love your energy. And like Yvette said, you are welcomed anytime. We can't wait to have you back. And viewers, thank you for watching. Join us next up as we have our very first Chief of Bay in Miami-Dade County, Irela Bagué, joining us at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. And thank you again, Justin.